First story. My entitled ex gave a car as a gift to my son. I claimed it as household property, banned my son from picking up his girlfriend, and told him the front seat was meant for and always reserved for me. He sulked and refused, so I took away his car as punishment. Now my son has abandoned me, and my ex is calling the cops on me. I'm 42F. My son Ryan is 17. His younger brother Cole is 15. Ryan has been dating Ava, also 17, for about 6 months. Ryan's father and I have been divorced for years. The kids mostly live with me. Their dad is more of a fun weekends, gifts, no rules parent. I handle school, schedules, discipline, appointments, bills, all of it. That difference matters here. A few months ago, Ryan's dad bought him a brand new car for his birthday. I didn't contribute to it financially, but Ryan still lives under my roof. I pay for everything else in his life. The understanding was simple. He can use the car, but he's still a minor, and there are expectations. Almost immediately, the car became a problem because of Ava. From the beginning of their relationship, Ava has taken the front passenger seat like it's assigned to her. I noticed it early on, but didn't make a big deal the first few times. What bothered me wasn't just that she sat there, it was how automatic it was, like no one else even existed. If Cole was riding with them, Ryan would tell him to move to the back. Not ask, tell. When I rode with them occasionally, the expectation was the same. Ava up front, me in the back. I didn't accept that quietly. I told Ryan multiple times that I found it rude. I explained that in my family, adults didn't get pushed into the back seat, so a teenager could claim the front. I wasn't raised that way, and I didn't raise my kids that way either. Ryan knew this. Ava knew this too. I was never subtle about it. The thing about Ava is that she doesn't argue outright. She just does what she wants and lets Ryan do the arguing for her. She'll slide into the front seat, buckle up, put her headphones in, and stare straight ahead like the issue doesn't involve her. That smug calm drives me up the wall more than open disrespect would. There were other things too. She'd walk into my house without saying hello. She'd take food without asking. She once corrected me about how I pronounced her last name in front of my sister. None of it was explosive, but it stacked up. Every time I brought something up, Ryan acted like I was nitpicking his girlfriend. The day everything blew up started off normal. Ryan and Ava were heading out to run errands and hang out near the mall. I needed to go there 2 returns, groceries, and a couple of things I couldn't get locally. It was on the way. I asked if I could ride with them and get dropped off and picked up later. Ryan said yes. We walked out to the driveway together. Ryan unlocked his car. I got into the front passenger seat. It felt normal. It felt like where I should sit. Ryan immediately said, "Mom, you need to move. Ava sits there." I told him no. I wasn't rude about it. I said I wasn't sitting in the back seat, while his girlfriend took the front. I reminded him that we'd already talked about this. Ava was standing there watching the exchange, clearly waiting for me to cave. Ryan got irritated fast. He said I was making things awkward. That this was how they always did it. That it wasn't a big deal. I told him it was a big deal to me. I said I wasn't going to be treated like an afterthought. Instead of resolving it, Ryan sighed dramatically, got out of the car, walked around to Ava, and handed her the keys. They got into her car instead. Ryan drove. Ava jumped into the front seat before I could even process what was happening. They locked the doors. I stood there for a second feeling stupid, like I'd just been deliberately shut out by my own kid. Ava rolled the window down and said, "If you still want to come, you can sit in the back." That did something to me. It wasn't just annoyance anymore. It felt humiliating. I had never felt that dismissed by my own child before. I got into the back seat because I didn't want to turn it into a full-blown scene in the driveway. But the entire ride was tense. Ryan kept muttering about how I embarrassed him. Ava stared out the window like she was the one being inconvenienced. About 10 minutes in, I told Ryan to pull over. He did. I reached forward and took his car keys off the ring. His car keys, not Ava's. I told him he wouldn't be driving my household's car if he couldn't show basic respect. I didn't insult Ava. I said he could have the keys back later, but not right then. Ryan lost it. Ava crossed her arms and wouldn't even look at me. They dropped me off at the mall in silence. As soon as I walked away from the car, I felt this heavy mix of anger and loneliness. I sat there with my coffee and shopping bags, wondering how I ended up feeling like an outsider to my own kid. I replayed the moment over and over, the locked doors, the window rolling down, the tone in Ava's voice. I figured Ryan would cool off and come back when it was time to pick me up. That assumption was wrong. We'd had arguments before. He always cooled off eventually. About an hour in, I texted him asking where they were. No reply. I waited another 10 minutes and called him. Straight to voicemail. That's when the uneasiness kicked in. Ryan isn't the type to ignore his phone unless he's making a point. I sat there longer than I needed to, watching families and teenagers pass by, thinking about how quickly the situation had escalated over something so basic. I kept going back to the way Ava had looked at me through the open window, like I was optional. While I was still sitting there, my phone rang. It was my younger son, Cole. He sounded shaken. He asked where I was, and then told me Ryan and Ava were at the house. According to him, Ryan had used the spare key his dad gave him and driven back home after dropping me off. Cole said they were in Ryan's room stuffing clothes into bags. His gaming console was gone. His backpack, shoes, chargers, anything easy to grab. Cole asked me if Ryan was moving out for real. I told him to stay out of the way and not argue with his brother. I took a cab. The whole drive, I kept thinking that this had gone far past a seat in a car. This wasn't about where Ava sat. This was about Ryan deciding he didn't have to listen to me at all if he didn't like what I said. When I got home, Ryan was already gone. His room looked like someone had hit fast forward on a breakup. The closet is half empty. The desk is bare except for dust rings where things used to be. His car was gone from the driveway. There was a note on the kitchen counter. One sentence, written quickly. He said he was going to stay with his dad because I didn't respect him. I felt angry and insulted. I read it twice and left it on the counter. About 20 minutes later, my ex called me. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask for my side. He jumped straight into telling me I had no right to take Ryan's car keys and that the car was legally his, not mine. He said if I didn't return the keys by the end of the day, he'd involve the police. I told him that Ryan is still a minor, still lives with me, and that taking keys for the day as a consequence isn't theft. He wasn't interested in that. He said Ryan told him everything and that I had crossed a line. I told him. Ryan didn't tell him everything. I told him about the front seat issue, about being locked out of the car, and about the ongoing pattern of disrespect. He dismissed it all as petty. Expecting your kid to treat you like a person is petty now. To avoid unnecessary drama, I returned the keys that evening. I wasn't going to let my ex use the police as leverage. Ryan stayed at his dad's house that night and hasn't come back since. Cole is angry in a quieter way. He told me I should have just let Ava sit in the front and avoided the blow-up. But he also admitted he's tired of being treated like background noise whenever she's around. He said Ryan has changed since dating her. More entitled. More dismissive. Less willing to hear no. Some of my friends think I should have let it go. That it wasn't worth the fallout. Others think Ryan and Ava were out of line and that my ex stepped in to play hero instead of backing me up as a parent. I'm not apologizing to Ava. I'm not apologizing to Ryan for expecting respect. I didn't kick him out. I didn't tell him to leave. He chose to pack up and go because he didn't like being told he couldn't override me in my own household. I miss my son, but I'm not going to pretend this was just about a car seat. It was about how comfortable he's become dismissing me when it doesn't suit him. Ada? Comments. Comment 1. YTA. Want the front seat. Drive your own damn car. You weren't being disrespected. You were being told no in a situation where you didn't have control. And you lost your SHT over it. It wasn't your car. Not his car either technically, but definitely not yours. And yet you tried to dictate seating arrangements, then escalated when it didn't go your way. Even worse, when they switched to her car, you still tried to sit shotgun. That's wild. That's not about age or manners. That's about entitlement. You don't get to claim the best seat in every vehicle just because you're the parent. And let's be real. Kids don't pack their entire room and bounce the same day over one argument. That only happens when this is the final straw after years of micromanaging, constant corrections, and my way or else energy. The car seat was just the spark. The fire was already burning. Taking the keys was a stupid move. You knew damn well his dad would intervene. Ryan clocked it instantly and removed himself from the situation. You keep framing this like you were humiliated, but honestly, this sounds like someone who can't handle not being the most important person in the car anymore. Your son has a girlfriend. Couples sit together. That's normal. What's not normal is turning that into a loyalty test. Enjoy the empty driveway. Comment 2. YTA. You weren't mad about the seat. You were mad that your son chose his girlfriend over you in public. That's why this blew up the way it did. You didn't want the front seat, you wanted confirmation that you still outranked her. When you didn't get it, you escalated until someone lost. And yeah, I know people are jumping on Ava, but you're projecting hard. She didn't force Ryan to lock you out of the car. She didn't make him shove his brother to the back for months. That's Ryan choosing to prioritize his relationship, clumsily and immaturely, like a lot of teenagers do. Your response wasn't to correct that behavior later, you turned it into a showdown on the driveway. You say you felt disrespected. Fine. But respect isn't automatic, just because you're the parent of a 17-year-old who's halfway out the door. Respect is maintained through trust, not constant reminders of hierarchy. The second you grabbed the keys, you crossed from upset parent into power play. Also, the mole thing. You weren't abandoned. You were an adult with your own car who chose to wait and stew because you expected him to come crawling back. When he didn't, you took it as betrayal instead of a consequence. And yes, the dad sucks for threatening police. But let's not pretend you didn't hand him the perfect excuse. You knew exactly which button to press, and it backfired. If your kid leaves over this, it's not because of Ava, or the front seat, or the car. It's because he's done feeling like every disagreement is a test of loyalty. And judging by this post, I doubt this is the first one. So yeah, YTA. Not for wanting respect, but for trying to force it at the exact moment you were losing it. Comment 3. NTA for refusing to play. Ava is the queen of the front seat. But you're missing the real fight, and it's why you keep losing. This is not about a seat. This is about your ex buying a car and buying influence. Your son knows exactly where the power is. Dad gives him stuff and no friction. Mom gives him rules and pushes back. So he's learning that the way to win is to run to dad anytime mom says no. And dad isn't even trying to hide it. He went straight to the nuclear option with return the keys or police. Now Ryan. People are calling him dramatic, but he's not. He's strategic. He packed up fast in daylight while you were out. He used the spare key you didn't know he had easy access to. He didn't even stick around for an argument. He wanted to punish you and show you you're not the one with leverage. Ava. She's a symptom, not the disease. Yeah, she's rude. Yeah, she likes the front seat because it signals she outranks you and Cole. But she couldn't do half of this if Ryan didn't want to impress her, and if dad wasn't waiting with a safety net. Ryan is the engine. Ava is the cheering section. Where I'm with you. An adult shouldn't be shoved into the back like luggage. And Cole shouldn't be pushed back either, especially in his brother's car, in his own family. That's basic decency. The fact Ryan does it constantly tells me he's been getting away with it for a while. And now he's shocked you pushed back in public, where Ava could see. Where you screwed up, and I say this as someone who has watched divorce parenting turn into petty warfare. Taking the keys was never going to work, because your ex was always going to use that to undermine you. You gave dad the perfect opening to play the righteous savior. You handed him the script. Next time, don't give him ammo. If you want actual advice, stop fighting symbolic battles. You don't need to prove you deserve the front seat. You need to protect your household and your younger kid. Tell Ryan, you're welcome here. But if you're living under this roof, you don't treat people like they're lower on the totem pole. Cole is not moving for Ava. If Ryan wants to act grown, he can handle grown consequences. He can arrange his own rides, meals, and laundry. And he can live with dad full-time, if that's what he wants. Don't beg. Don't chase. Let him feel what dad's house actually looks like when the novelty wears off. And talk to Cole. Because right now he's learning that being quieter means getting shoved to the back literally and figuratively. That's the kid who's going to pay for all this if you don't draw the line hard. So yeah, NTA on principle. But your ex and your son are playing a big game while you're arguing about seat assignments. Update. I didn't expect to be back here. But a lot has happened since my original post. And I need to get this out clearly because I'm being blamed for outcomes I didn't choose. First, I consult a lawyer. After my ex threatened police over the car keys, I needed to understand where I actually stood. The lawyer was very clear. Ryan is still a minor. The car may be a gift from his father, but it's stored at my home, insured under a family plan I help maintain, and being used by a child who is legally still under parental supervision. That doesn't mean I can confiscate it indefinitely. But it does mean I'm not powerless the way my ex tried to make it sound. That conversation changed how I approached everything afterwards. Ryan stayed with his father for a few weeks. During that time, his school contacted me because I'm still listed as the primary parent. His attendance slipped. Assignments were missed. I forwarded everything to his father and told the school that Ryan was currently living with him. I didn't step in to smooth anything over. I wasn't going to clean up messes created by a choice I didn't make. Eventually, Ryan reached out. Not to apologize. Not to ask how I was. He asked if he could come back home, if we could stop fighting. I told him no, not like that. I told him that if he wanted to come back, there were conditions. Not negotiations, conditions. One of them was that he apologized to me for how he handled the situation. Not for dating Ava. Not for wanting her in the front seat. For locking me out of the car, dismissing me publicly, and packing up and leaving instead of dealing with conflict like a near adult. He didn't like it. But after a few days, he did apologize. It wasn't warm, but it was clear. I accepted it. Then I told him there was another requirement. Ava owed me an apology too. That's where everything stalled. I wasn't asking her to grovel. I wasn't asking for a speech. I wanted acknowledgement that her behavior, especially the comment at the car window, was disrespectful. Ryan argued that I was dragging her into it. I reminded him that she was already in it. She inserted herself. Instead of an apology, I got a text from Ava. It wasn't an apology. It was carefully worded, passive, and defensive. She said she was sorry if I felt uncomfortable, and that she didn't realize there were so many rules. That told me everything I needed to know. I told Ryan that wasn't acceptable. I wasn't playing word games. He accused me of trying to control his relationship. I told him I was controlling my household. I also laid out new rules very clearly. No one, and I mean no one, automatically gets the front seat in a family car. Parents, grandparents, and family members are not being pushed aside, so someone's girlfriend can feel prioritized. If Ryan is driving a vehicle kept at my house, those expectations apply. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't drive from my driveway. Ryan said that wasn't fair because the car was a gift. I told him gifts don't exist in a vacuum. If it's parked at my house, insured with family involvement, and used by a minor, then it affects the family. Around this time, there was a family event at my sister's house. Ryan showed up with Ava. My sister offered to drive a few of us to grab food. Ava immediately went for the front seat. Before I said a word, my sister told her to move to the back because she was sitting up front. Ryan got embarrassed and angry. Ava looked stunned. They left early. Ryan later accused me of poisoning my family against Ava. I told him I hadn't said anything. Other adults simply don't tolerate the behavior either. I stopped riding with Ryan entirely. I stopped asking for rides. I stopped letting him drive his younger brother anywhere. Cole now rides with me or not at all. That solved a lot of day-to-day friction, but it didn't fix the bigger issue. A few weeks later, before Ryan even turned 18, he moved out again. This time it wasn't to his father's house. He got a part-time job, pooled money with a friend, and rented a small place. His father helped him sign paperwork. Ava was involved too. 2 teenagers playing house. Ryan didn't tell me in advance. I found out after the fact. Since then, he's been happy, according to my ex. He talks to his father regularly. He does not talk to me. I've reached out. I've asked him to come by. I've asked him to talk. Most of the time, I don't even get a response. I told him that if he wasn't planning to come home, I would be converting his room into an office. He didn't reply. What hurts more than I expected is what's happening with Cole. I was so focused on managing Ryan's fallout that I didn't realize how much my younger son was pulling away. He's quieter. He spends more time alone. I can see now that he felt invisible for a long time, while everything revolved around his brother's chaos. I'll own that. I dropped the ball there. But I'm one person. I was trying to manage 2 disrespectful teenagers going in different directions, and a co-parent who undermines me every chance he gets. I didn't see how badly things were drifting until Ryan was already gone. I don't regret my expectations. I don't regret demanding respect. I do regret being blindsided by how fast my son decided to detach, instead of dealing with conflict. I don't believe that cutting me out entirely is reasonable. And I don't believe his father encouraging independence he can't financially sustain is responsible. I have every right to care where he's going, who he's with, and what choices he's making when those choices affect my household and my younger child. My ex bought a car he can't fully support long-term and handed it to a teenager who wasn't ready for that level of independence. Now Ryan thinks he's grown, living with another teenager, barely scraping by, and refusing to speak to his mother. I want my son back. Not under my thumb. Back in my life. Talking to me. Answering messages. Acknowledging that I still exist and still matter. I don't think that makes me unreasonable. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. And your lawyer said section is doing a lot of heavy lifting. A car being parked at your house doesn't magically make it family property. What you do have is parental authority over a minor's use of the car while he lives with you. That's not the same as rewriting reality into "this belongs to my household." And that's the theme here. You keep trying to turn your feelings into rules other people must obey. You didn't just want an apology, you wanted submission. You wanted Ryan to apologize. Then you wanted Ava to apologize. Then you wanted a police seating in every car scenario. Then you wanted to decide who drives whom. Then you threatened to convert his room. That's a lot of control packaged as respect. From Ryan's side, he has a dad who rewards him for leaving, and a mum who treats every conflict as a courtroom where she gets to issue verdicts. He chose the parent who doesn't make him grovel. Is it the healthiest? Probably not. Is it predictable? Absolutely. From Ava's side, she's a teenager dating a teenager. She's not your co-parent. Her apology text was a classic teen non-apology. But you were never going to accept anything short of her admitting you outrank her. She's not going to do that. No teen would. From Cole's side, he's the collateral damage. You saying, "I'll own that," after basically letting him get shoved around for months is not much. He watched you obsess over Ryan and Ava, while he learned the lesson that being quiet means being ignored. That's why he's drifting. If you want Ryan back in your life, stop trying to win. Right now your goal isn't connection, it's correction. Nobody wants to come home to that. Comment 2. YTA. You don't want your son back. You want your son back in the position you assigned him, with his head bowed and his girlfriend put in her place. That's why every single thing you wrote is about hierarchy. You're still talking about the front seat like it's a sacred throne. You banned anyone from sitting in front like you're running a damn monarchy. You demanded a double apology like you're collecting tribute. You keep saying, respect family members. But what you mean is, obey me without question. Those are not the same. Ryan isn't cutting you off because of a seat. He's cutting you off because you make normal teenage independence into a moral failing. You framed him moving out as some entitled fantasy. But he got a job, found a place, and is figuring it out. That's literally what teens do when they're trying to escape a controlling parent. Yeah, he'll probably struggle. Yeah, he might come crawling back when rent hits hard. But if he does, it's because he needs a roof, not because he agrees with you. Your ex sucks too. He lit the match. Buying the car, giving spares, threatening cops he wanted to undermine you. Congrats, he succeeded. But even if he never existed, you'd still be pushing Ryan away with this fixation on who sits where as proof of loyalty. Cole is the saddest part. You admit you neglected him, but still call him a loner like that's just his personality. He's a kid. He's learning that love in your house is conditional and loud people get the attention. Quiet kids disappear. If you actually want a relationship with Ryan, drop the Ava apology demand. Stop trying to govern their relationship. Start acting like you want your son, not a trophy version of him. Comment 3. You have built a system where affection is conditional on compliance. Apologize first. Then get your girlfriend to apologize. Then follow the seating rules. Then maybe you can come home. Teens don't submit. They leave. Ryan didn't cut you off because he thinks he's grown. He cut you off because every interaction with you turns into a negotiation where he's already in the wrong. Living broke with another teenager feels easier than living in a house where every move is monitored and judged. You keep blaming your ex, and yeah, he sucks. But even without him, your approach would still drive distance. The lawyer consult, the family property framing, the seat ban, the room threaded all reinforces Ryan's belief that you care more about control than connection. What really stood out is Cole. You admitted you were blindsided by how far he drifted. That means it happened slowly, while you were busy fighting Ryan. That's not bad luck, that's a warning sign. Right now you're on track to lose both sons emotionally, one loudly and one quietly. You say you want your son back, ASAP. That urgency is part of the problem. Relationships don't snap back into place on your timeline, especially when the other person feels like contact equals conflict. If you don't change how you approach this, not your rules, but your mindset, your future updates are going to be about holidays he skips and calls he doesn't return. And you'll still be asking who was right about the front seat. Update. I didn't think I'd be back writing an update like this, but the situation didn't stabilize. It fractured further, and at this point, I'm documenting it as much for clarity as for outside perspective. A few months after my last post, Ryan had a medical emergency. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was serious enough that the hospital contacted me because I was still listed as his emergency contact. His father was out of town. Ava was there. Her parents were there too. I went. I handled paperwork, spoke to the nurse, and waited while tests were done. I didn't bring up the past. I didn't say, "I told you so." I showed up because I'm his mother. Ryan was polite, but distant. He thanked me. That was it. What stood out wasn't Ryan, it was Ava's parents. They barely acknowledged me. I later found out why. A week after that hospital visit, Ava's parents contacted me directly. They wanted to clear the air. They said Ryan had been under stress, that he was trying to be independent, and that maybe I needed to loosen my grip. They framed it like a misunderstanding between families. I shut that down immediately. I told them I don't co-parent with strangers. I don't negotiate household expectations with my son's girlfriend's parents. Whatever version of events they heard it from teenagers who has been undermining me for years. I wasn't interested in a group meeting to validate that narrative. They didn't like that. Ryan sided with them. Around the same time, Ryan's living situation stabilized. Ava's parents helped him get a more consistent part-time job through someone they knew. They helped him with rides and scheduling. He started paying rent more reliably. From the outside, it looked like he was making it work. What no one seems willing to say out loud is that he didn't do it alone. He didn't bootstrap his way into independence. He was propped up, just not by me. Then Cole imploded. He started skipping assignments. He snapped at a teacher. I got called in for a meeting and realized I had completely misread how much this entire mess had affected him. I tried to course correct. I spent more time with him. I backed off conversations about Ryan. I thought we were rebuilding something. I was wrong. Cole started spending more time with his brother. First weekends. Then longer stretches. Eventually, he asked if he could move in with Ryan for a while. I didn't fight him. I asked him why. He said he felt like everything at home revolved around conflict, and at Ryan's place things felt lighter. He said Ryan understood him. He said I was always tense. He moved out 2 weeks later. I don't think people understand what that does to a parent. One child cutting you off is devastating. 2 feels like erasure. Ryan turned 18 shortly after. There was a small celebration. His father was there. Ava was there. Ava's parents were there. I wasn't invited. No one told me directly. That's when something in me snapped. I tried therapy after that. Everyone kept saying I needed to process and reflect. I went to a few sessions. What I got was a stranger trying to reframe everything as my failure. I stopped going. I'm tired of being told that expecting basic respect makes me the problem. What the hell is wrong with the people around me? My ex buys a car he can't fully support, hands it to a teenager, then acts shocked when that teenager believes he's untouchable. Ava's parents step in like they're saving some poor, oppressed kid, without once questioning the version they were fed. And my sons decide that the parent who enforced expectations is disposable. I won't lie. There are days I look at that car and feel rage. That stupid car detonated my family. I want it gone. I want my ex to pay for what he set in motion. He didn't just give Ryan a vehicle, he gave him an exit, and told him it was freedom. I don't understand Cole's behavior at all. I never imagined he would leave me too. I never thought he would align himself with the same dynamic that sidelined him for months. That betrayal hurts more than Ryan's defiance, because Cole knew what it felt like to be pushed aside. I've made a decision, and people won't like it. I'm done chasing. I will not attend Ryan's graduation. I will not attend a wedding I'm not wanted at. I will not show up later pretending nothing happened when I was discarded the moment I became inconvenient. If Ryan has children someday, he can explain to them why their grandmother isn't around. That will be his responsibility, not mine. People keep telling me this is final, that I'll regret it. I don't think they understand how much damage has already been done. Relationships don't heal when one side is expected to swallow everything and smile. Teenage relationships don't last forever. Ava won't be there forever. When that ends, and it will, Ryan will eventually realize who actually showed up when things weren't easy. He'll understand the difference between indulgence and care. That day isn't today. Until then, I'm stepping back. I didn't abandon my children. They walked away from me. And I'm done contorting myself to prove that expecting respect wasn't abuse. If they come back someday with real accountability, I may forgive them. Until then, I'm done explaining myself. Comments. Comment 1. Lady. You're in pain, I get it. But you're lighting your own house on fire and calling it self-preservation. You showed up to the hospital, good. That's what a parent does. But then you turned around and went scorched earth over a birthday party and therapy not validating you. You keep blaming the car like it's cursed. The car didn't detonate your family. The car exposed the existing split. Dad is permissive, you're rigid, and both kids learned they can't breathe around you when you're in respect mode. You're obsessed with being right, and it's costing you being close. Ava's parents contacting you was annoying, sure, but you didn't just say, no thanks. You basically treated them like enemies. From their POV, they're helping a kid who's hustling, working, and trying to be stable. Meanwhile, you're talking about wanting to destroy the car. Do you hear yourself? And the, I won't go to graduation, wedding, grandkids thing. That's not dignity. That's you trying to punish them with your absence. Except it won't punish them the way you think. It'll just confirm the story they already tell themselves. Mom only shows love if you behave the way she wants. Cole leaving is heartbreaking, but it's also not betrayal. Kids follow where the emotional temperature is lower. If home feels like walking on eggshells, they leave. They don't write essays explaining it. You want your sons back. Drop the prophecy about Ava leaving and Ryan realizing who loves him. Love isn't a trap you set to spring later. You're still parenting like you're trying to win a case. Comment 2. You went from, my son's girlfriend sits in the front seat, to, I want to destroy the car, and, I won't be at his wedding, or when he has kids. That is not a stable reaction. That is you trying to hurt them back because they hurt you first. The wild part is you keep saying you're the only adult without a cheer squad. But every adult you describe is responding to your intensity. Ava's parents are helping your son with a job and stability. You interpret that as an attack. You go to therapy, and the therapist doesn't immediately crown you queen of correctness, so you quit. You're not looking for insight. You're looking for a verdict. Ryan isn't some innocent baby, but he's also not the devil. He's doing what a lot of 18-year-olds do. Job, rent, girlfriend, pretending he's grown. And yes, he's getting help, because that's how young people survive. You're mad it isn't your help, but you made your help conditional on everyone apologizing in the exact way you demand. Cole leaving is the biggest clue. Quiet kids don't leave a stable environment. They leave a stressful one. He didn't betray you. He opted out of being the emotional dumping ground while you rage about Ryan. Also, teenage relationships won't last, maybe. But if you're sitting there waiting for Ava to dump him so you can be like, see? Now you need mom. You're not loving your kid. You're rooting for his heartbreak to prove a point. That's messed up. If you want a future with your sons, stop making them earn your presence. Graduation isn't a reward you hand out. It's a moment you show up for because you're their parent. Right now you're choosing pride over connection and calling it boundaries. Second story. I had a surgery and told my girlfriend to move in and take care of me like my mum did for my father when I was a child. She refused. I 32M was in a serious car accident, but I'll be able to leave the hospital soon. The doctor said I won't have any permanent damage, but I'll go through a long rehabilitation process to be able to walk normally again. And, at least for the first few months, I'll need help with basic things. I've been in a relationship for 5 years with my girlfriend 30, but we don't live together. When my mother came to visit me, she asked whether I wanted her to move into my place or whether my girlfriend would give me the support I need. I talked to my girlfriend, assuming she would move in with me for at least the 6-8 months it will take for me to be able to take care of myself again. She was very clear in saying that she would not move in and would not help me in the way I was expecting. Her plan was to pay for a carer for me and visit, so we could spend time together, since I won't be able to go out for a while like we used to. I should say that I'm not doing well with the idea of being so dependent, but I had convinced myself that this experience could strengthen our relationship. My father had a workplace accident when I was 12, and my memories of my mother taking care of him shaped part of my idea of love and devotion. That's what I was clinging to in order to cope with what I imagine will be a few very humiliating and difficult months for me. It was quite shocking to hear her say that she will take care of me, just in her own way, and that if I'm not okay with that, then I should ask my mother to take care of me instead. There are cultural factors as well. I'm American, and her family seems to have traveled half the world. On her mother's side, her great-grandmother was Italian and emigrated to Brazil, where she married a Portuguese man. On her father's side, her grandfather was Dutch, emigrated to Spain, and married a Spanish woman. My girlfriend was born in Brazil, but lived for many years in France and in the UK. I mention this because we've already faced many cultural differences, hers coming from multiple cultures, and I don't know whether this is another case of that. In any case, there wasn't an argument. It's hard to argue with her because, well, she doesn't argue. She might as well be the Dalai Lama's daughter. She rarely loses her patience and is very articulate. She simply laid out the options and told me to decide. Saying I'm unhappy would be an understatement. But what she proposed does make sense. And that's what makes me wonder whether I'm being an idiot for being upset about it. So, Ada. Comments. Comment 1. I suspect you are feeling this way because her idea of taking care of you contrasts drastically with your romanticized idolized memory from your childhood. You really expected for her or your mother to slave over you for 6 to 8 months at your beck and call. Yeah, you are definitely crossing the line. Do either of these ladies work outside the home? Your girlfriend is a keeper. She knows her own limits, knows what she will tolerate, comes up with good plans, and communicates very clearly and well. Comment 2. YTA. Caregiving is a massive responsibility and drain. Just because your mother did it doesn't mean anyone else on earth needs to do it, particularly if there are resources and choices. How selfish do you have to be? Comment 3. You have presumably not ever asked her to move in with you before, so it's not fair to expect her to take you up on this fabulous offer, Because you now need the help. You aren't married and presumably aren't proposing marriage. Why should she drop everything to wait on you? I would strongly recommend that you not put pressure on her to do this, as it could cause enormous strain on your relationship. Meanwhile, think of how you can build the relationship into something where you both feel committed to each other enough to want to be there for each other in times like this. To me, it sounds like you didn't invest enough before to have the type of relationship that you suddenly want because you are in need. Sorry for your misfortune, and I hope you get better quickly. But yeah, YTA, count yourself lucky she wants to stick around at all. And maybe think about how to work towards the type of relationship that you picture. Update. Yesterday I posted about my dilemma with my girlfriend, who said she wouldn't take care of me during my rehab. I'm such an idiot that the post ended up being flagged as fake. I had no idea my idealization was that absurd. I read enough comments to realize that I'm the arsehole in this situation. I couldn't reply to everyone individually because there were too many comments, and I don't want to overdo it. I'm still recovering, so I'm going to answer the main questions and give an update here. I love my girlfriend. I would do anything for her, and I know she's the one. We're not married because she doesn't want to be. I thought about asking her to marry me in our first year together. I talked to her about it because she's not a big fan of surprises, and I knew that if I made a big public proposal, she would say no without hesitation, even if she did want to get married. As you may have noticed, she has very clear boundaries. Anyway, she told me she wasn't interested in getting married, that marriage meant nothing to her, and that it wouldn't make her more or less committed to our relationship. She said that if it was important to me, we could get married eventually. I thought about it for a long time, and obviously, I was very upset too, because I had idealized buying a huge diamond, her being very happy, and showing it off to her friends, which I knew wouldn't happen, for reasons that would take too long to explain. Basically, a stupid thought in more than one sense. After thinking it through, I came to the conclusion that I didn't actually have a strong desire to get married. I simply had this idea that the next step was marriage, and that a woman expects a ring. As for living together, I suggested that too. I expected her to move in with me during lockdown, but she ended up having a friend stay with her who had no family and didn't want to be alone. And she also brought her mother over from Brazil because her mother was kind of a COVID denier. And this way my girlfriend had a bit more control over her mother's antics. After the pandemic, we talked about it again, and she said she'd be willing, but that we'd need to find another place and define some things, like having separate bedrooms. She likes having her own space, organized her way. She said that when she wanted to be alone, she'd spend a few days in a hotel, which is what she did when her friend and her mother were living with her. Some of these things seemed strange to me, but nothing truly outrageous, and I agreed. We were looking for a place before my accident. Regarding my level of devotion, and whether I'd be willing to do the same for her, yes, I would do anything for her. One example I can give is that I know she traveled a lot and lived in many countries. Before the pandemic, she never stayed more than 6 months in one place. The pandemic took its toll, and now she's not as excited about traveling and has no plans to move. However, I know this isn't her natural state, and that eventually she'll want to move again. Maybe just to another city, maybe to another country. I know it will happen sooner or later, and I'm ready to pack my bags and follow her. If tomorrow she tells me she wants to move to China, I'll be looking for plane tickets and a new physical therapist. As for expecting her to drop everything to take care of me, that's not what I expected. I won't need that much help, nor for that long. I can't do much physically, and I need help getting around, at least until I'm well enough to use crutches. But I can take care of my personal hygiene on my own. She works, but she doesn't have to. She has many projects. It's hard to keep up with how many things she does. But currently she runs a very successful SEO content agency and is developing a crypto project. I know she has a lot of freedom because sometimes she spends several days watching Netflix and says she doesn't feel like working. She has employees and basically leaves things to them and tells them to figure it out. Other days she's very busy, has lots of online meetings which she hates, and complains that none of her employees are competent. In short, I know she could balance work with taking care of me, or simply not work at all, and it wouldn't affect her finances. We've never combined our finances, so I don't really know how much she makes or what her financial situation is like. I always pay for everything we do together because I think it's my responsibility as a man, and I'm doing very well financially, but honestly, I think she makes a lot more money than I do. She pays for a cousin's college tuition and retired her mother at 40. And I know she also sends money to her grandma. I didn't really think through the logistics or what things would actually be like in practice. As I said, I had idealized the situation. We don't have a big height difference, but I probably weigh twice as much as she does, and it would certainly be very difficult for her to help lift me. I didn't ignore her offer to pay for a carer, although I may not have seen it as generous a gesture as many of you did. I could pay for a carer myself, And since my girlfriend is very detached from money, I didn't really see it as a sacrifice or a demonstration of love. She has a cleaner and a cook. According to her, it's cheaper for her to work and pay people to do those things than to lose work hours cooking and cleaning the house. And she certainly doesn't want to do that in her free time. For those who said she's selfish or doesn't care about me because she didn't offer to take care of me the way I expected, I have to say you're way off. She's generous, kind, and the most understanding, empathetic person I know. The type of person who, when a waiter messes up her order, will accept it so it doesn't get taken out of his paycheck. She heard from some relatives that a distant cousin had dropped out of law school because she couldn't afford it, and she offered to help pay her tuition. They hadn't spoken since childhood, and she didn't hesitate for a second to help her cousin achieve her dream. Last year was really hard for my brother. He ended up sleeping on my couch for almost a year. He got scammed and was left with a lot of debt, had to sell almost everything he owned, and then lost his job a few weeks later. He fell into depression. I honestly don't think he would have climbed out of that hole if it weren't for my girlfriend. She came over every day and played PlayStation with him for hours. I was home, but I had to work and couldn't give him that much attention. And I also didn't know how to help. Sometimes they would just sit in silence for hours. Other times they'd talk for hours. When he stopped showering, she told him his stink was messing up her game, and that his wins didn't count because he was cheating. After a few invalid wins because of the smell, he started showering again. She managed to get him to eat, even when he didn't want to. She cooked comfort foods, especially desserts, and at first my brother ate mostly out of politeness. She helped him see that losing his job wasn't the end of the world because he hated that job anyway. She helped him accept that getting scammed had been a stupid mistake on his part, and that it was normal, because we all do stupid things. Little by little, he started getting back on his feet, went back to studying, switched fields, and got a job he actually likes. At one point he had a relapse and didn't want to take the meds his psychiatrist prescribed, and my girlfriend told him she had given him the chance to heal on his own, but that it wasn't optional anymore, and that if he didn't take the medication himself, she was going to treat him like her dogs and shove the pill down his throat. I don't know if he believed her or just found it funny and ridiculous. He's my younger brother. But he's a huge gym guy, so it was like a rabbit challenging a bear. But he took the meds and only stopped when the psychiatrist approved it. In short, she helped my brother climb out of a very deep hole. I never asked her to. She took the initiative, and I couldn't be more grateful. I never thought she was selfish, and I could never think that. And my irritation about the carer idea wasn't because I thought she didn't care about me enough to help. I think that covers the main questions I've seen so far. I talked to my girlfriend and accepted the carer she suggested. I should clarify that she didn't just offer to pay for a carer. She offered to organize everything related to my recovery. I mean, interviewing carers, choosing the one she thinks is best, organizing meals and groceries, deciding who will take me to rehab, and all of that so that I can basically just be an invalid being taken care of. She also said she can't commit to taking me to rehab, at least for the first 2 months, because 2 weeks ago she signed a contract with a new client and doesn't know what her schedule will look like until she gets things organized so everything runs without needing her. Because of that, she also can't promise she'll see me every day. But she did say that if she gets too busy, she could work from my place on some days. I'm not completely happy, but I've accepted that I'm the arsehole, and I'm just going to let things play out and see how it goes. Maybe I'll come back in a few months to say how the experience went. Yes, she's too good for me. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.